Yeah.
Welcome to the Snowy Valleys Council ordinary meeting for 15th of July 2021. This meeting is held here in Tumut and also via video link. Councillors, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respect to elders past and present. We'd also like to acknowledge the recent NAIDOC work as well. This meeting is live streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council debates and decisions. Members of the public participating in a meeting grid have their image, voice and personal information, including names and addresses, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valleys Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voices or images is permitted. In the event of emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions given by the wardens. Do not use the lift. If participating in the meeting from an alternative venue, please enact the evacuation plan for that location if required. Council is now operating under temporary provisions expiring on 31 December 2021 of the Local Government General Regulation 2005, which gives council discretion to allow councillors to attend remotely under exceptional circumstances. Councillors, I've got leave of absence from Councillor Bruce Wright. I've got the wrong paper. It's the same thing. Got leave of absence request from Councillor Bruce Wright and Councillor Margaret Isselman. Remote attendance.
So Bruce is only just.
Okay, so I've got a remote attendance from Councillor Wright and Councillor Isselman. We accept that. Councillor Ham and Councillor Cross, any discussion? All in favour? Carried. Now let Councillor Wright and Councillor Isselman join the meeting.
Okay, Ken seconds them to join back into the meeting, so it's moved after that.
Councillor's declaration of pecuniary interest.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. Welcome, councillors. Councillors, we're up to 3 on the agenda. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Councillor Benjamin.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have a pecuniary interest in relation to report 7.1 due to owning 2 investment properties in the Valleyview estate, and will leave the room during the discussion.
Thank you. And not participate in the voting. Thank you.
I have a non-significant pecuniary interest in relation to report 13.1 due to being a member of the RFS, and I will not be moving.
Thank you, Councillor Hammond. I have the same non-pecuniary interest in the Rural Fire Service because I'm also a member. Councillor Lard.
I'll also declare a pecuniary interest in relation to report 13.1 due to the fact that I own an aircraft and paying rent to hangarage to the Tumut Aero Club, just noting that none of the discussions or information within the report is in relation to any of those interests, so I will remain in the room and be voting.
Thank you, Councillor Lard. Any further? Thank you. So, we move the subject. Just noted. No public forum. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, the ordinary meeting of 17 June 2021. Councillor Smith. Business arising from those. Councillor Ham.
I'd just like to bring up the I beg your pardon, 10.13, the dissolution of the Rosewood Community Shed Committee. For you, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering if it's okay if I could talk to a member of staff. I went to their meeting the other day. They're all for dissolution, but I'm concerned that it's been dissolved. They are not yet incorporated. I'm wondering what's happening with the Rosewood Community Shed. Is it insured? What's the governance in this between time?
Thank you, Councillor Ham. I might refer that to Ms Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Ham. Just confirming that as per the resolution, all of the assets, both cash and other, remain the property of council until such time as the Rosewood Shed are organised with their incorporation and appropriate insurances. So the assets are covered.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Ms Jones, thank you, Councillor Ham. Anything further from those minutes? Motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Wright. Waiting on Councillor Wright. I assume Councillor Wright's abstaining, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, and 1 abstention. Moving on. Notice of motion, footpath extension. Councillor Benjamin, you're leaving the room. Councillor Benjamin's gone. Do I have a mover? Councillor Varda, seconder. Councillor Ham. Any discussion? Councillor Ross.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to inquire whether in a normal situation when this is about on a school property, do residents pay for part of having a footpath being constructed? If so, will the education department be being asked to put money towards having a footpath?
As I understand it, if it's a new footpath, normally residents would be expected to pay part.
Yes.
If it's being replaced, council pays the whole lot. And usually government departments don't pay anything, so council wears the full cost in this case. Is that correct? Yeah.
There is a slight difference if it's a new development. So if it's a new government entity, we do negotiate with them, but there's no requirement as such to contribute for a government entity.
And my next question for Mr. Mayor, at the conference we went to, we learned about recycled tyres being able to be used as a substitute for concrete. The advantage of those is that the water can percolate through rather than cause root damage. And I note that there are lots of trees, beautiful gum trees along that path, and I would ask that when the report is being put together, that is considered as a substitute for concrete.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. With the case? Yes, thank you. Anything further? Put the motion, all in favour? All in favour? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Councillor, how could you, Councillor Benjamin? Councillor Benjamin, that was passed unanimously. Councillors, we're up to 10.1. Councillors, the draft council seal policy for adoption. Thank you, Councillor Lana. Councillor Cross, fairly self-explanatory. Any comment? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Councillors, 10.2, financial performance as of 31 May 2021. Councillor Ham. Councillor Benjamin.
For you, Mr. Mayor, I have two questions for the CFO. The first one is just about the monthly going over the budget by, a significant 11.6% over the budget with employee costs. Now, and every month this is, most of it is recoverable under disaster management funding or commercial works income. So I suppose my point is, is that our year-to-date budget obviously didn't take into account the grants. And I just want to be assured that though it's 11% over, we are basically getting most of that money back. So that is my first question to the CFO.
To the CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ham. This is a year-to-date report. So from the beginning of the year, all the extra costs have been accumulated. That's why it's higher every month. It's not a monthly report. And you are correct, we are being refunded for these additional costs from a number of different funding bodies.
Question 2.
Just so to the CFO, if that's okay. So you've got no concern. We're pretty much on par with the budget as it should be when it comes to employee costs.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ham, yes, we are pretty much on par with the QBR3. However, this monthly report compares to the original budget. So all the adjustments that were made in QBR 1, 2, and 3 are not reported here because the financial reporting goes against the original budget.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much. And my second question is probably more to the Director of Infrastructure, if that's okay, is just I'm wondering about the design and construction of the Telbingo boat ramp, pontoon and gangway, and is that happening and when?
Mr. Crouch.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ham, the pontoons are currently being fabricated and I understand very close to completion. The next phase of the project will be then to install those on site and undertake works on the actual boat ramp to accommodate that. We are reliant on the water level being dropped for that, so we're in close consultation with Snowy Hydro in regard to the timing. Last I heard, we should be on site by the end of this month, pending water levels.
Thank you.
Councillor Cross.
Yes, I noted in here that the materials and contracts are over budget, and I just wondered what the story was behind that, please, through Mr. Mayor.
CFO.
Apologies. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Cross, it is in a large part due to the additional private works that we were able to secure.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Councillor, statement of investments. Lada. Councillor Ham. Okay. Councillor Ham, you've got a question?
I'm just bringing up the main cash disbursement there. Just looking at FOGO and it's more of a comment than a question, if that's all right, Mr. Mayor. Just to say I went along to the FOGO launch and their play for the children of the Snowy Valleys Council and just how very, very well done that is. I love the marketing that's coming out and the energy that is in the whole council area with FOGO coming out. So congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Ham. I'd reiterate that. Nothing but positive comments from the Councillor Cross.
Yes, in the community, there's been some discussion about the new rubbish bins that have been delivered and the fact that and I know this is not totally related to FOGO, but I thought it would be to bring it up that the new rubbish bins are actually part of a grant and they're not coming out of revenue. Is that correct?
I'll ask the CEO, Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Cross. Yeah, that's correct. The organic bins are funded externally through some grant funding through the EPA. The actual bin harmonisation project, which is the replacement of the other bins, the general waste bin and some of the recycling bins. That's funded through council through the waste charge.
Councillor Ham.
Mr Mayor, have we received, I know you wrote about the financial assistance grants. Have we received anything correspondent to that?
Not that I'm aware of, but it was very much discussed at the ALGA conference.
Yeah.
There was some very clear messages sent to the government. So we've just got to watch this space, but I can't see it changing in the future. Is there anything further? All in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Drinking Water Management System Annual Report 2020. Councillor Cross, Councillor Lana, comments? Councillor Cross.
Through you, Mr Mayor, if I could have some reassurance from the Director of Infrastructure about the security of our water supply. How secure is it from either physical attacks or cyber attacks, and what's in place to protect our water supply from things like disaffected employees?
Through
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Cross. Yeah, our water treatment plants are all secured in that they're fenced, they're swipe card access, and staff are very mindful of potential threats and do regularly monitor for that. As well as that, we do regular monitoring of the water quality, and we've got various alarm systems in place attached to those facilities. We also make water ahead of time. So, for example, Tumut, we've got about 24 hours capacity in the system. So when we make water, pump it up to the reservoirs, we've got a 24-hour gap there. So if there was an issue, we could dump water and make more water if we had to before it got into the reticulation system.
And
Thank you.
through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Cross, we also have a cyber security report coming up to the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee at the next meeting, which talks about what Council's progress is. And we recently had an external provider do an audit on our council systems and processes and a couple of other council systems and processes, and our council has actually come up quite good. We do have further work that has to be done, and that will be reported to the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think our water is beautiful and it needs to be maintained as. Thank you.
Any further? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Community consultation findings report and spatial assessment plans for the former Batlow Cannery site. River, Councillor Smith, Councillor Ham. Very late, Councillor Wilson. Comments?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I note that there has been a lot of discussion in the community about the Batlow Cannery site. A lot of investigations, a lot of ideas have been put forward, and various plans, and people that put forward their own particular plans. And the fact that this process has been undertaken and is now completed is very welcome, because it gives some basis for looking at the future for this site, which is a very complex issue. There's lots of things to be considered with it. These plans that have been put forward, or ideas that have been put forward under this plan, I think are very helpful for the Batlow community to think about the future. And it is such a large and highly visible site for residents and visitors to Batlow, and there's a lot of potential for it. I think it's good that they've got something to work with and to work towards now to make more detailed assessments and plans for future use of that site.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Lardner.
I was just going to say, I mean, this to me is probably one of the particular highlights of our tenure in the council to essentially inherit what was an asbestos mess, that was ravaged by fire after we come up with a plan to fix it. And, to be at this point now, for the staff to get to the point where now we're looking at this sort of ongoing use for the site is remarkable. I mean, I don't think anyone in Batlow 4 years ago would have thought that this plan would have been here now. So it's testimony to what can be achieved.
Thank you, Councillor Lardner. Nothing further?
Yes.
Councillor Visserman, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'd just like to compliment the report in recognising the investment contribution that's been made through the pine plantation enterprise and its realisation of employment within the town. And that's what we need. We need people to come forward with investments to further develop this site. And I just reiterate, I compliment the plan in recognising that established business.
Thank you, Councillor Visserman. The investment not only helps Batlow, it helps the entire region. The seedlings grown there. Councillor Ham.
I'd just like to acknowledge the former councillor who's sadly passed away, Dick Sedgwick, and how pleased you'd be that that this report is taking up his suggestion of residential independent living. He would be delighted.
Thank you. All right, I'll put the motion. All in favour? That's unanimous. Eleven point three, declaration of new dog off-leash areas. Councillor Ham. Councillor Cross. Councillor Ham.
Great to see this is finally coming up. Just got a bit of a problem with the fact that the red line goes down the middle of a creek, and my dog, I know, will not stay on one side of the creek. Just if we could talk to the Director of Corporate and Community, if he can give some clarification about waterways and is there an easement on either side of the creek, which surely there just has to be, just through common sense.
Mr. Holden.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The area that we advertised that would be declared was, I guess, the area that that is indicated in the map that was provided with the report. The issue of dogs wanting to swim across the creek, I guess I'm not sure that our local laws officers will be paying that much attention to dogs doing that, and if they do, I'm sure owners will be able to get them back. Noting that regardless of the status is off leash, all dogs are required to be under effective control of their owner, so that's a given no matter whether it's an off leash area or not. I'm not sure about the provision of an easement or the existence of an easement along that area. However, I would gladly take that on notice and come back to you with further information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, some members of the community in Tumbarumba have commented on the fact that the other side of the creek ought to be included in this off-leash area, and wonder why it wasn't included. I understand that it's because this area that has been marked as off-leash was being used that way unofficially. However, in the future, should that be considered desirable to extend the area to the other side of the creek as well, there would be no problem in putting forward another proposal to do that.
I can't see an issue with it. No. Mr. Holden, would there be an issue with passing this and then in the future extending the to the other side of the creek?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, The area that was advertised is the area that we're proposing, and because it was there was support for that, general support for that, we're putting that forward as the area for declaration. Were we to extend, or if we were to extend the area through this process, we would need to re-notify it. So in order to get the Tumbarumba community an off-leash area as quickly as they can, given their general support for an off-leash area in Bicentennial Park, we put this recommendation up to council for today's meeting. In the future, should there be, if we wish to extend it, it's a simple process of re-notifying the extended area and then bringing it back to council.
Right, that's what we wanted to hear. Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Put the motion, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Thanks for your work on that one. Recovery and resilience grants, 11.4. Councillor Ham, Councillor Lata. There'll be some very happy organisations after these are granted, I'm sure. Nothing further, put the motion.
Well,
do you want to say something?
Well, I just say, that just goes to show that not everything's down this end of the city. One of those is for chairman. The rest of them are, elsewhere. Majority of them in Tumbarumba. So for all those people that are out there that are saying that we don't disperse funds, here's evidence.
Thank you, Councillor Lata, for the geography lesson. All good? Put the motion, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing those completed. 4.1 minutes to the diag. Councillor Cross. Councillor Ham. Councillor Cross.
Yes, if I have an issue with the terms of reference that they've put forward. I find their objectives, one of their objectives is really very, very badly written, and it really doesn't make much sense. So I really can't support accepting this current terms of reference.
So what do you suggest?
If you have what I had them here.
So everything.
Sorry, they were in the attachments, weren't they?
So do you want to let this lapse until the next meeting?
Well, I can give you what I think the wording should be,
right.
But I'm not quite sure how you will do the research.
We could change the wording.
You can change the wording at this meeting if it's not through the chair. If it's not a substantial change, we could just do that. But if it is a substantial change, then we'll have to go back to the committee. So
Councillor Cross, if you can find that.
Yes, I will just bring them up.
So,
yeah. Okay, so if you look at number 5, objectives of the committee, the first point is to provide insights to council's plans, actions and projects in order to facilitate access to services, facilities and activities which within the area for people who have disability and their carers. I would prefer to see something along the lines of provide feedback to council's plans and actions and projects in order to facilitate access, to allow appropriate access to services, facilities and activities for people with disability and their carers. I think that makes a lot more sense.
could, Jamie, minute taker, could we please slowly reread your statement? Thank you.
So change to point number, it's the number 5, the first dot point. So to provide feedback to council's plans, actions and projects in order to allow appropriate access to services, facilities and activities for people with disability and their carers. I see that makes a lot of sense.
Given the current statement and the objectives, I would say that's a minor change and that should be okay to just go through. That's what council chooses to do.
Seconder, happy with it?
Well done.
Anything further? Motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. Minutes of the Aerodrome Committee. Councillor Larder. Councillor Ham. Councillor Larder.
No, I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. And
It's just one thing, Errol Todd. Dot point 4, 1D and Todd. In the minutes. That's the only thing I've got. Nothing further? With that deletion of D, all in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. So that concludes the ordinary meeting. The open section. Local Government Act provides the council may close to the public that part of the meeting that deals with matters in a confidential nature. Section 10.2 lists such matters. The grounds on which a meeting is closed to the public must be specified in the decision to close the meeting and recorded in the minutes of the meeting. We have the recommendations here that council move into confidential to consider the matters listed in the confidential section of the agenda in accordance with section 10.2 of the Local Government Act 1993 for the reasons specified. 13.1 expressions of interest for hangar lot 8 at Tumut Aerodrome. 13.2 sale of land for unpaid rates and charges. 13.3 RFT 2021-05 design and construction of Bomboli Creek Road Bridge. And 13.4 RFT 2021/07 design, construction and installation of multiple prefabricated buildings at Batway Caravan Park. Do I have a mover to move into confidential? Councillor Smith, seconder. Councillor Benjamin, all in favour? Thank you, councillor. That's everyone, and we move into confidential.
Councillor Wright.
Councillor Risselman and Councillor Wright, are you suitably ensconced in an area that can't be heard by anybody else or seen by anybody else?
Yep, I am.
Yep.